my gorgeous YouTubers. I'm in my kitchen garden surrounded by the wine leaves. So today I'm planning to pick the Damask Rose. I've got a second batch coming here and I'm going to show you how to make the lovely jam with it. So you need to pick them, best thing, in kind of a weather when it's not raining. They need to be dry. And let me just see where I'm gonna pop the basket so it doesn't fall over. And they also need to be fresh. So when you notice a rose open, you can pick it on the first or the second day. They're the best. And then thereafter, they're just not as fragrant and won't give you the best result. So I'll show you here. Got some brown tips here so you can cut them off and use the rest of the petals, but there's a little trick that you need to do before you use the petals, which I'll show you in the kitchen. Another thing is why you can't just use any rose for the jam. It has to be the Damask variety, is because the Damask variety has very excuse the wind, it has very much soft and thin leaves petals compared to a regular rose, and so it just is more fragrant, more delicate. You won't feel like you're chewing on a petal when you're having the marmalade. They become very kind of soft. So let's just carry on picking them. Okay, I'm gonna go to the other side. So this one is good. This one, I don't know if you can see from here. Can you see? Probably not. So, oh, here. It's not open yet fully, so we won't use that one. This one here it's very, very good in terms of producing these roses. I mean, I keep picking them every few days and I have fresh roses. And mind you, the spikes on the Damask Rose are not as big or spiky as the others. Okay, so this is my second crop, and look at the beautiful, gorgeous rose. So I've got about as much as I did last time, and I will show you now how to prepare them. If you don't have, say for example, if you have a few of these shrubs, you could easily make a marmalade from one picking. But if you don't, if you are in my situation where you can just pick them every few days, then there's a little something you need to do. Hello, wine. Okay, let's go in the kitchen and I'll show you what to do next. Would it be weird if I wore sunglasses in the video? Sorry, but it's just, I don't want any wrinkles. Okay, the next thing to do is get your silicone or any type of kind of kitchen brushes that you have and go through and have a look if there are any type of insects in here, and just kind of, you know, get rid of them, because we don't want extra protein, shall we call it that way, extra protein in our jam. So once you have cleaned them all up, next thing you're going to do is just remove the petals by a cluster. So avoid those that are slightly browned and not fresh looking, and kind of grip them here like that, and you've got a whole chunk. Now, so can you see these tips here? That's what you need to cut off. This is where the bitterness is. So about there, this is what needs to come off. And you're going to keep the rest of the petal for your marmalade. So let me get a cutting board. Okay, so we're going to place this cluster in one piece down onto your cutting board and get rid of these bits. It's nice and easy. There you go, don't need that. If you have any brown bits, also cut them off. Otherwise, add them to your bowl and proceed with the rest of the rose. So again, if there's something brown, just kind of tear it off, get rid of it, and then nice and easy, and that goes in. If there's a little bit of brown, I wouldn't worry too much, but if the petal doesn't look great, so for example this I kind of would maybe pass, maybe not, your decision to make. These definitely need to be taken out. And then anything else that you can cut off if it's brown, do that so you can save the rest of the petal. And that's what I would do until you get to the center. And with the center, you can still use them. They're very cute in the Damask Rose. I'll show you really quickly. So I'm just avoiding where I can the brown leaves and just going through them quickly like that. Just, I think, one more cluster left before I show you the center. And off they go into here. If you notice any brown bits, again, just get rid of them. You want your marmalade to be pretty and taste good. Sometimes it's easy to overlook the brown bits, but you get the idea. So you want to have nice, pretty leaves. Fresh they have to be. That's the key word. Okay, so when you get to the center, can you see what you end up with? This lovely little bundle. And you can use them too. Just be careful that you don't get these bits here. So the seeds, these can be also quite bitter and you don't need them. So once you got it off, pinched it off, again, cut off these white ends as much as you can. They can be a little bit fiddly, but if you can get it done, they will add extra color because they tend to be pinker and also more fragrant. So kind of just go like that, get it all in one piece and just cut it off gently or pinch it off if it's easier in some situations. And look, nice and pretty, all going in. Go through your rose and make sure you take all of the petals out like I just showed you, and I will show you what to do after you're finished with your roses. Once you're done, here is what you will have: about 2 cupfuls of beautifully scented damask rose petals. So you can wash them if you want. I personally don't like to wash mine. I like to preserve all the beautiful aroma, and I think that if I wash them, they kind of lose a little bit of that. So make your own decision regarding that. Mine are really clean. If you're going to pick your petals in stages, what I recommend you do is you kind of prepare them with sugar. So layer some of the petals, like a thin layer of petals, and a bit of sugar and a bit of lemon. They do kind of braise really quickly because they're very, very gentle and subtle leaves. And this is why you saw a few brown bits on mine. We had a few really windy days, and so just that can really bruise up the leaves really easily. So that's just something that can happen. This is what they're going to look like after a few days. So you layer a thin layer of petals, sprinkle of sugar, few drops of lemon, and carry on in layers like that until you reach the top. And then you're going to every day give them a little toss, and that is it. So this has been in the fridge for a few days. And now to these petals, I'm going to add my fresh petals right here. And we're going to do a thing called macerating the petals. Essentially, all it means is just massaging the petals. You should do it with a couple of tablespoons of sugar and a few drops of lemon, but because I already have it in here, I'm going to use the sugar that I already have inside. One more thing. What I have prepared here is 2 cups of sugar, just regular white sugar, with 1 1/4 cup of water. And I brought it to simmer, and I'm now kind of gently simmering it for 5 minutes to create a just a regular syrup. Rose petal jams are really syrupy and kind of watery, so don't worry about it being kind of fluid. It's not a traditional jam, like a thick type of a situation. So, also one cardamom seed that I'm going to crack open. And while we're having the simmer going on, I'm going to pop it inside there and make sure it infuses the syrup with this gentle cardamom flavor. Some people leave it in the jam, but I want it to be so subtle and not kind of take away from the petals. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take a spatula and we're just going to mix and massage these petals together like that. I wish I could let you smell and send over the fragrance that is currently here. It truly is the most beautiful thing I've ever made in my kitchen, food-wise. But like I said, be very gentle with it because they bruise so easily, and I can see quite a few kind of browned leaves from the previous batch, but I'm hoping it's going to be okay. So these are ready, and that's my 5-minute timer. So my syrup is now ready. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fish out the cardamom. Cardamom is quite a strong flavor, so you should have had enough time in here, even though it was just a couple of minutes in here. In terms of ratio, traditionally, it is advised to use this amount of syrup, which is the 2 cups of sugar and 1.5 cups of water per 2 cups of petals. Now, I have here altogether 4 cups. So they're going to go in now. Again, try your own version and see what you think. But for me personally, I think it's just a little bit too much sugar and not enough rose petals. So I'm going to use twice as much of the petal per the amount of syrup. Another important thing is if you want to maintain the pinkness, we have already used the lemon juice. However, to be on the safe side, I'm going to recommend citric acid. Now, you can get them in shops. This one I got from a Turkish shop, and it's the fine, but I prefer to take a coarse little stone crystal like that and just grind it up in my, so about this much. It really is small. I grind it up in my pestle and mortar. It takes seconds. I didn't fast forward anything, and that will go inside here, and it will help us to maintain the pinkness of the petals. So we're going to simmer this for about 15 to 20 minutes on a very low heat. You don't want anything bubbling there. So it's only been about a minute, and this is what it's looking like now. It just gently colored the syrup very, very gently and lightly, and we're just going to cook it a little bit more, and I will show you what it looks like in about 15 minutes. So it's been 20 minutes now, and what I've been doing throughout is, you may notice, I put the cardamom seed back in and also added another 2. So 3 in total for this amount, because I have been continuously, like every few minutes, stirring it. And after 10 minutes, first of all, your kitchen will be filled with this beautiful aroma. And that's when it starts to flavor the syrup. You can see the color has deepened a little bit. And it tasted so gorgeous. 10 minutes in, and you could taste the damask aroma in the syrup. So super fragrant. But what I noticed in the taste profile is that actually cardamom works incredibly well. So oftentimes if it's made in the, I think, Iranian tradition, I'm not sure the Turks do that as well. Correct me if you know. But I know that the Iranians love cardamom in there, and Lebanese as well, in their rose petal jams. Okay, so it just works beautifully. The flavors go together like a dream. And 20 minutes later, so I just tried it before I started recording, it has deepened in flavor. It has become more interesting, more kind of rich in a way, and it's still super aromatic. So I switched off the heat, and now we're going to fill up the jars. For the next step, you'll need a few tools that you can prepare. You need a ladle for sure. You need one of those devices, which are just a must-have if you ever make any type of jam or marmalade, or I also use it for sauerkraut as well. It just makes life so much easier, and you can just stuff sauerkraut through here and not make a mess around the jar. So that's what you need. You'll need, of course, some sort of jars that you're going to use. I like the Bon Maman. And whenever we finish a marmalade, I wash these out. The labels are really easy to get rid of, and their lids are fantastic because they have this clippy thing here in the middle and a rubberized rim here. Once you have really tightly screwed the lid on and place your jar upside down, it creates a vacuum here and it's perfect. So that's what we're going to do next. Let me get the rose petals ready. So here we go, looking good. So now we're just going to fill these up, and the pot is really hot. So just be really careful when you do that. In one jar, I will add the cardamom seeds, and in the other I want to see if that's gonna add on flavor or is it going to be not good. So I've made this jam before, but it wasn't the right rose, and I learned my lesson there. It just doesn't work with any other rose. It has to be damask. If you do one thing in your kitchen garden this year, please get a damask rose. They're beautiful. That one shrub that I have is producing loads of roses. Just within a week, I was able to gather 4 cupfuls of petals, which is very, very good. Okay, we're going to have 2 completely full jars. Okay, so let's see. That one is here. Just going to try and not burn myself. Look, I bought this mitten because it reminded me of Teddy. Tabby ginger, although Teddy's not ginger, he is a cream. Hold on. Oh no, it's hot. Woo. Right, so we're going to get all of these beautiful petals. Don't want to waste any of it, so I'm just gonna fill up as much as possible. So this amount has filled literally 2 jars. It will get pinker as it cools down. That's what I remember happened last time as well with my previous experiment. Now, be really careful because these are super, super hot. You're going to pop the lid on top and screw the top on really tightly, as tight as you can. And then you're going to flip it upside down like so. So same thing here. Okay, here we go. 2 beautiful jars of rose petal jam. Let them cool down completely out of sun. So if there's sunlight, then I would just sort of cover them with a bit of a cloth or something. And once they cool down, you can place them in the fridge. And once you open them, use them within a month. I can't wait for it to cool down and enjoy it on a toast or a little drizzle of a homemade ice cream. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. See you next time.